There are seasons in life when all we really want, deep down, is peace. Not success, not applause, just peace. The kind that lets us breathe. The kind that holds us when everything around us feels unstable. And yet, the more we search for it, the more we realize how fragile the world's version of peace really is. We think peace means no problems, no noise, no conflict. We imagine it's a soft feeling, something gentle, something light, the absence of struggle, the absence of fear. But then comes a gospel like today's, and Jesus turns that idea on its head. He's speaking to his disciples on the eve of his passion. He knows what's coming: betrayal, fear, grief, confusion. And right in the middle of that storm, he says these words: "Peace I leave with you, my peace I give to you." Not a worldly peace, not a temporary calm, not a life free from pain, but his peace. A peace that holds steady in the storm. A peace that doesn't depend on our circumstances, but on his presence. Friend, maybe that's what your heart has been aching for. Not escape, not easy answers, but real peace. The kind that doesn't promise a painless life, but a faithful God. The kind of peace that whispers, even when the world is loud, "You are not alone. I am here. I am staying." Today, let us step into the gospel not to figure everything out, but to hear one voice, the only voice that can still the storms inside us. And maybe find that what we've been longing for all along isn't peace the way we imagined it, but peace the way he gives it. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to John. Jesus said to his disciples, "Whoever loves me will keep my word, and my Father will love him, and we will come to him and make our dwelling with him. Whoever does not love me does not keep my words. Yet the word you hear is not mine but that of the Father who sent me. I have told you this while I am with you, the Advocate, the Holy Spirit whom the Father will send in my name. He will teach you everything and remind you of all that I told you. Peace I leave with you, my peace I give to you. Not as the world gives do I give it to you. Do not let your hearts be troubled or afraid. You heard me tell you, I am going away and I will come back to you. If you loved me, you would rejoice that I am going to the Father, for the Father is greater than I. And now I have told you this before it happens, so that when it happens you may believe." Let's take that in slowly. Whoever loves me will keep my word. This isn't just about rule following. It's about relationship. Jesus isn't calling for legalism. He's inviting us into a living love. When you love someone, you carry their voice in your heart. Their words shape the way you live. That's the kind of love he's speaking about. One that makes space for his voice to stay with us even when he's physically gone. "And my Father will love him, and we will come to him." What a promise. Not just help from a distance. Not a God who watches from far off, but a God who moves in, who comes to dwell. That's the language of intimacy, of belonging. Jesus is not content with being admired. He wants to live in us, with us, and the Holy Spirit will teach you everything and remind you of all that I told you. Jesus knows what we're made of. He knows how quickly we forget, how easily we doubt. That's why he gives us the Spirit, not as a vague feeling, but as a living guide. A presence that reminds us, you are not abandoned. You are not forgotten. I will speak to you again and again. And then, those words, the ones we crave in our chaos. Peace I leave with you, my peace I give to you. But he's clear, not as the world gives. The world's peace is fragile, conditional. It's the kind that falls apart when the money runs out or the diagnosis comes or the people walk away. But Jesus offers a peace that comes from knowing. I am loved. I am known. I am never alone. Even in suffering, I belong to something eternal. That's why he says, "Do not let your hearts be troubled or afraid." He's not scolding. He's comforting. He's not saying fear will never come, but that it doesn't have to rule you, because he's already gone ahead of every sorrow, every goodbye, every death, and he's made a way through it. That's why he tells the disciples, "If you loved me, you would rejoice that I go to the Father," because his departure isn't abandonment, it's fulfillment. It's the door opening to something greater, He's preparing a place. He's making a way. And in the meantime, He's sending the Spirit to walk with us every step of the way. So when He says, "I've told you this before it happens," He's not just predicting the future. He's giving us something to hold onto when the darkness comes. He's saying, when it feels like everything is falling apart, remember this moment. Remember that I knew, and I loved you enough to tell you beforehand, so you'd never have to walk in the dark thinking I was gone. This is the gospel, not a formula for ease, but a promise of presence, a peace that stays even when nothing else does. There's a quiet kind of ache many people carry. They wouldn't call it suffering, they wouldn't even call it pain. They just say, "I'm tired, I'm stretched, I'm not okay, but I'm still showing up." And I think that's where the words of Jesus today are meant to land. Not in the dramatic emergencies of life, but in the slow burn of our daily weariness, where peace is longed for but rarely found. Because if we're honest, most of us are searching for peace all the time. We search for it in a cleaner calendar, in the right relationship, in financial security, in a diagnosis that comes back normal, in a child that finally listens, in a job that gives us rest. But Jesus says today, "The peace I give is not like the world's." And that means something hard but holy. The peace He offers might not change our situation, but it will change the way we carry it. I think about the mother who sits by her child's hospital bed, not knowing if healing is coming. And yet she sings, quietly, not because she feels peace, but because she knows Christ is near. That's His kind of peace. I think about the widower who still sets the table for two, who still talks to God as if his wife is listening too. He doesn't pretend to be okay. He just lets Jesus hold the space that grief used to break open. That's peace. I think about the young adult who's scared about their future, who feels like everyone else is moving forward while they're standing still. And yet, every morning they choose to kneel, to say, "Lord, I don't know where I'm going, but I still belong to you." That's peace. Not because everything is easy, but because everything is held. That's what Jesus promises. We will come to Him and make our dwelling with Him. That line undoes me every time. God doesn't promise to take away every storm. He promises to move in, to live inside us while the storm rages around. That's the difference between the peace of the world and the peace of Christ. The world says, when the storm stops, then you can breathe. Jesus says, even while it rages, I'll breathe for you. That's why He says, do not let your hearts be troubled or afraid. Not because trouble won't come, not because fear isn't real, but because they don't have to own us. They don't get the final say. Not when He's already moved in. Not when love Himself is sitting at our table, even in silence. And yet, sometimes the fear still speaks louder than our faith. Sometimes we wonder, if God really lives in me, why am I still so anxious? Why do I still feel alone? Why is peace still so far away? But here's the thing about the peace of Jesus. It doesn't always feel like peace. Sometimes it feels like a quiet strength that gets you through one more hour. Sometimes it's the breath that helps you not raise your voice. Sometimes it's the choice to forgive even when your heart is still healing. Sometimes it's the courage to rest, to stop striving, to say, Lord, I can't, but you can. Sometimes peace isn't the absence of pain. It's the presence of Christ right in the middle of it. So maybe today, Jesus isn't asking you to fix everything. Maybe He's just asking you to make room, to let Him dwell, to let Him be peace, not just bring it, to let Him whisper, you are not alone, until you believe it again. And that might mean doing something very small, like turning off the noise for 5 minutes and sitting with Him, like lighting a candle before you go to sleep and letting the light speak when words won't come, like writing down one thing you're grateful for, even when the list feels short, like asking the Holy Spirit, remind me what He told me when I still believed, because that's the other promise today, that the Advocate will remind us, which means it's okay to forget. It's okay to lose your way. It's okay to be human. The Holy Spirit is not disappointed in your memory.